So a very warm welcome to this session where I'm going to talk you through the Resit for Assessment 2. So the brief is identical to the first one. So we've got a 3,000 word report on marketing and data analytics. So it can be between 2,700 words and 3,300 words. And on it, the submission date here, sorry, is the original one, but we're actually looking at a submission date, I think it's the 2nd of August, and then you'll get your feedback 3 weeks later. So we want the same, it's the same brief as last time. So we want you to look at theories and models of data, information, knowledge and decision making within marketing areas. And we're also looking for strategies for analytics and how it makes decisions, how people make decisions in terms of the marketing. Now, the way we assess those learning criteria is by you choosing an organisation from the FTSE 100 or the FTSE 250. And on Moodle, there are previous lectures that I've done where I've shown you how you find that out. So if a company's on it or not. So it must be either one of the FTSE 250 or one of the FTSE 100. And you do that by going, I think it's the London Stock Exchange website. And on there are indices, and there's the FTSE 100 or there's the FTSE 250. You pick either of those. And then there's something called constituents. And on constituents, they're all the companies that form part of that FTSE 100 or FTSE 250. So you need to pick the right type of organisation, and the reason why we're keen that you pick one of those types of organisations is you can use a number of data analytics databases to analyse their performance. If they're not one of those companies, the chances are they won't have a lot of published data. So we want to make the assessment as straightforward as possible by ensuring that you've got access to a lot of data. Okay, so another key part of this assessment, and one where people didn't succeed and so they are needing to resit now, is you accessing Fame, Mintel, MarketLine, Euromonitor, to name but a few. Okay, now if you don't know how to do that, you need to learn. And on week 6 of the materials, the lecture was all about, and the seminars is about using those databases. And there are a number of videos about each of those databases in turn and how you use them and what they tell you. Something you may find a challenge is that a couple of those databases may contradict each other. That's fine. That gives you more to talk about, that actually the data on them is different, particularly with the peer analysis, you'll find that. So we want you to really use those databases to really critically evaluate, to look at the company's performance. So you need to use that. The FAME database is Financial Analysis Made Easy, that's what it stands for. And that will help you understand the marketplace. And there are peer analysis on that as well, because another part of this assignment is where we're asking you to compare the organisation against their competitors or their peers. So we need to pick a good organisation, so one that's in the FTSE 250 or FTSE 100, and we need to be using the databases in order to answer the assignment question. So let's just quickly look at what we're looking for. So we need you to have a good level of knowledge and understanding. That's through really understanding the talk contents on the course. And of course, everything was videoed. The lectures were videoed. At least one of the seminars was videoed. So you've got a lot of contents that you can revisit to make sure that you're really confident with what to do. In addition, some of the seminars actually looked at how to answer the assignment. And so there would have been a seminar, probably in week 2 or 3, that looked at addressing assignment 2. So make sure you rewatch that and be really comfortable with it. We then need you to analyse a little bit further. So rather than just looking at the basic knowledge, we're asking you to apply it to say actually where are there limitations in what we're looking at, the models perhaps, where they don't give us the complete picture. Then, advanced technical, professional and research expertise. Well, this is using the databases. So if you use those and cite them well, then that will give you those marks. And then actually it needs to be very well written and put together. And that's your written communication skills. Lovely table of contents, great, very well structured, good use of references, good use of language, easy to navigate. Now, talking about navigation, one of the reasons that quite a few people didn't meet the assessment criteria was because, let me just find the right Word document, they didn't follow, we'd got a guidance document, and if you followed that, it was really straightforward to use. So here it is, it's on Moodle, it's under reassessment, so I've put it there for use of ease of access, okay. So we are expecting you to have a cover page, a contents page. We are expecting you to have an executive summary, which is included in the word count. So you don't get any extra words for that. You'd write the executive summary at the end, and it would just be an overview of the things you've covered. Now, we mark a lot of assignments, and the executive summary tells us very quickly whether you've met the assessment criteria or not. So it's like a very strong first impression. So put a bit of time and energy into that in terms of getting it so we can see very quickly that you've met the assessment criteria. Then we want a contents page, please. Again, a contents page shows at a glance that you've hit what we need you to do. And then we need a title of the report. Okay, so that's your structure, and that's the report sort of set up. And then in this assignment 2 guidance document, you've got everything there in terms of what we're looking for. So we want an introduction about the assignment itself. So you're telling us what you're going to be telling us about. So about the organisation, and sort of that you're critically evaluating the performance of it using a series of databases. We then expect an company profile. So this is where you focus on your specific organisation, ideally with a couple of different sources, not just the organisation itself as a source. What are we finding out about the sector? And actually some of the databases are very good at giving you, I think MarketLine might be quite a good one to give you an idea of the performance of the sector. So that will give us a really good flavour for what we're going to be looking at. Then you're going to talk to us about the context analysis, and you're going to explain what that is. You're firstly showing us about an internal analysis, and you're only looking at 2 out of, there's 4 here, but you're focusing on 2. So what's the organisation's strategy, what's their culture like, all their resources, and socio-politically what's going on. So you only pick 2. The reason being, you've got 200 words for each of those. If you pick 4, then you haven't got the depth of analysis to give you the marks to pass. Then we're looking at the market itself. So again, part of the context analysis. Again, we've got a number of different things that we could talk about here, but we're only talking about 2. So is it about consumer trends? What's going on? And actually that's where we might use, if it's business to consumer, we might use Mintel there to get a feeling for the market. Are we looking at agencies, competitors, strategies and how they use tools, or the media messages? So we're focusing on 200 words each. Then we're looking at the bigger picture, so the environmental analysis. And you're going to use a pestle, but you're only using 2 aspects of pestle as well. And you need to explain why you've only used 2 of them. So you're not why you've only used 2, but why you've chosen the 2 that you've chosen. So why they're of great interest to you. So actually the 2 most relevant ones are the ones to use, and then you can go into some depth. Again, we've only got 200 words for each one, but if the organisation has been impacted politically by some factors, what were they, why were they, what happened? Again, multiple sources here, or we might be looking at the economy or social, etc. So we pick 2 out of the 6. Then we move on to marketing strategy, communications. So we're looking at what are marketing communications. Then, and there are slides on this, and it was in my talk contents early on in the course when we're looking at marketing. DRIP is differentiate, reinforce, inform or persuade, and they're all different things that marketing messages can do. So what I'd like you to do is for your organisation, look at actually what do they do through the marketing communications, which one of those 4 do they use. Then we're looking at who are their customers, and we're doing this by looking at how they group them together, so their segments, and then which ones do they go after. And then I'd like you to create a positioning map for your organisation. So where do they sit on 2 axes that are of relevance to them versus where do their competitors sit on there? So you're going to create that map. Sometimes people have used maps that have been already created, and I'd really like you to use some data and create the map against the competitors. That's really good practice. Then you're going to look at peers, and by peers I mean their competitors. So we're going to identify those through fame, so who their competitors are, and then we're going to find out how are they performing against their competitors. Ideally the top 5. who's winning the war in terms of like who's winning the competition to get whether it's best turnover, whether it's top of mind, whatever that might be, and how are they sat against their competitors. And then look at their strategies going forward as well. So have they got quite different strategies? And then you're bringing it all together in your conclusion. What have you found out? How are these figures and facts and figures that you're finding relate to their financial performance? So we're looking at in terms of data analytics, how our market knowledge, how our internal analysis then informs our future financial prospects for the organisation. And if you follow this, actually, there's a very good chance you'll do really well. But you need to apply it and you need to use a number of databases. So I'm suggesting that you use the support sheet. There's also some additional week 6. There's a lot of videos on these databases and how to use them. And also in my notes on the reassessment, there's also the information that was provided at the end of week 6 to book a session with the library if you're struggling with using the databases. You need to use plenty of references appropriately, and if you do need help on the academic side, please go to the library about that. So in terms of the support that's available, up until the 23rd of July, there are one-to-ones available that are bookable through the reassessment section on Moodle. And there's a link to these one-to-ones, all delivered on Teams, but they will come into my diary and they're 15 minutes long. In addition to that, I would also say that I will review a draft, but only one that's received by 5 p.m. on Friday, the 23rd of July. Anything after that will not be reviewed, absolutely guaranteed, because I'm on leave then. So up until that point, I will review your draft and I will give feedback. Okay, wishing you all the very best with this Resit submission.